The space station Veltra Prime was huge. It was like a floating city in the stars, home to humans and many alien races. Soldiers, traders, and leaders from different worlds walked its wide halls. Everything felt strange to Tom, a young human, soldier who had just arrived. Tom had finished a long shift helping with security at the main docking bay. His legs were tired, and all he wanted was sleep. He held a small tablet in his hand, showing his room number. The halls looked the same, with silver doors and glowing signs in alien languages. He turned left, then right, then another left. Room 209. 210. 211, he whispered to himself. Finally, he reached a door that looked more elegant than the others. It had gold lines running through the silver and two small symbols he didn't recognize. He didn't think much of it. Maybe officers got better rooms. He pressed the button. The door slid open with a soft hum. The room was dark at first, but lights slowly brightened. The walls were smooth and silver blue, and there was a sweet scent in the air. In the middle of the room stood a tall woman in a flowing dress that shimmered like moonlight. Her skin was pale violet, her eyes deep and glowing like two small suns. Thin silver lines ran from her temples down her neck. Tom froze. The woman turned and smiled gently. Tom's face turned red. "Sorry, wrong room," he said quickly, stepping back. But before the door closed, she said calmly, "I know." He blinked. Then why?" She raised a hand. "Please, don't leave." Tom hesitated. His heart was racing and his training told him to leave immediately. But something in her voice was soft, kind, and curious. He stepped back in slowly. "Are you someone important?" he asked. The woman smiled again. "Yes. I am Elra, Queen of the Thalari." Tom's eyes widened. He had heard of the Thalari. Their queens were known across the galaxy, elegant, wise, powerful, and never seen without guards or ceremony. "I didn't mean to enter. I was looking for my room." Elra walked over to a small table and poured a light blue drink into two glasses. "You are in the right place, Tom," he frowned. "How do you know my name?" "I asked the system to send someone like you," she said, handing him the drink. Tom looked at the glowing glass. "Someone like me?" She nodded. "Human, young, honest, not high in rank, but not new either. Someone real, someone curious." He didn't drink. "Why?" Elra sat on a soft chair and looked at him with calm eyes. "Because I wanted to speak to a human without guards, without cameras, and without rules." Tom slowly sat down across from her. "You picked the wrong human. I'm no one special." "That's exactly why I picked you." Tom wasn't sure if this was a dream or a trap, but she didn't seem dangerous. There was no weapon, no guards, and no strange orders. Just quiet music and a soft light. "Okay," he said. "So what do you want to talk about?" Elra leaned forward. "Tell me, what do humans do when they are sad?" The question surprised him. "Sad?" "Yes. Do you sing? Do you eat? Do you walk alone?" Tom thought for a second. "Some people cry. Some listen to music. I usually just talk to someone or take a walk." She nodded slowly. "And when you are happy?" "I laugh," he said, smiling a little. "Maybe eat something sweet. Chocolate." "Chocolate?" she asked, tilting her head. "It's a human dessert," Tom explained. "I brought some with me." Elra smiled. Perhaps you will share it one day. Tom relaxed a little. This didn't feel like a normal talk. It felt personal, peaceful, and strange in a good way. Do you ever feel sad? He asked. She looked out the window at the stars. Every day, a queen carries her people's burdens. I make choices others don't understand. Sometimes I wonder, what would it be like to be free, even for one day? Tom was quiet for a moment. I'm not a queen, but I get it. Orders, rules, and pressure. She turned back to him. Then maybe we are not so different. The room fell into a soft silence. The hum of the station was the only sound. Tom looked around. There were paintings on the walls, alien art, smooth and colorful. A small fountain made soft water sounds. He still didn't fully understand why she chose him, but he felt calm here. Elra stood up. Would you return tomorrow? Tom stood as well. If you want. I do. He gave a short nod. Okay. I'll come back. As he turned to leave, the door opened again without a sound. Before stepping out, he looked back. Elra stood there, her hands folded, her eyes calm. Good night, Queen Elra, he said. Good night, Tom, she replied. The door slid shut behind him. Tom looked down at his tablet and laughed quietly. His real room was 3 doors down. Tom didn't sleep much that night. He lay on his small bed, staring at the ceiling of his assigned room. The meeting with Queen Elra kept playing in his mind. Her soft voice, her calm smile, her strange but kind questions. He had spoken to alien officers before, but never to a queen, and definitely not like this, alone, peaceful, almost like a friend. Why me? He whispered to himself. The next day he reported for duty as usual. His team worked in the loading bay, checking incoming cargo and scanning visitor IDs. His friend Rin, a quiet human technician, noticed something different. You okay? Rin asked, adjusting a scanner. Yeah, just met someone strange yesterday, Tom replied. Rin smirked. An alien girl? Tom looked away. Something like that. After work, Tom walked back to the same elegant hallway. This time, he didn't get lost. He stopped in front of Queen Elra's chamber and hesitated. Should he knock, call her name? Before he decided, the door slid open on its own. Elra was already standing inside, dressed in a new gown that shimmered silver and blue. You came back, she said. You asked me to, Tom replied. She smiled. And you listened. That's rare. Tom stepped inside. The room looked the same, but this time the table had small alien fruits on it. The air smelled like soft flowers. I hope you're hungry, she said. Tom sat down. A little. She handed him a small orange fruit that glowed faintly. He bit into it. It tasted like a mix of peach and mint. Not bad, he said. I'm glad, Elra replied. Now, tell me something. What do humans fear? Tom blinked. That's a heavy question. I ask because Thalari children are taught to fear humans. They say your kind is wild, quick to fight, hard to trust. Tom sighed. I guess. Some humans fear being forgotten, or failing, or being alone. Elra nodded slowly. Interesting. So do we. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Elra stood and walked to a small wall panel. She touched it, and the wall shifted, revealing a large glowing crystal floating inside a clear case. What's that? Tom asked. This is the Crown Archive. Elra explained. It holds the memories and wisdom of past queens. Only rulers can access it. Tom stood and walked closer, looking at the soft lights moving inside the crystal. It was beautiful and powerful. "Why are you showing me this?" he asked. Elra turned to him. "Because I don't trust my own court anymore. But I trust you." Tom froze. "Me? But we just met yesterday." "Yes," she said calmly. "But you had a chance to leave. You didn't. You could have bragged or acted proud. You didn't. You listened. That means more than titles." Tom felt the weight of her words. "What exactly do you need from me?" Elra stepped closer. "I need someone who sees clearly. Someone who can tell me what others won't. My advisors want me to marry a powerful Thalari lord. They say it's tradition. But I don't want to be forced." Tom raised his eyebrows. "You want me to stop a royal wedding?" She chuckled softly. "No, I want you to help me make a better choice. Quietly, carefully." Tom scratched his head. "I'm not a diplomat. I'm just a soldier." Elra looked at him with serious eyes. "Then be a soldier who speaks the truth." He thought for a moment. "All right. I'll help if I can. But people will ask why a human is always around the queen." "Let them ask," she said with a smile. Over the next few days, Tom visited her often. Each time, they talked more about human food, Earth's cities, Thalari festivals, even music. Elra showed him a traditional Thalari instrument like a long flute. Tom shared a few songs on his tablet, including old Earth jazz. They laughed. They listened. And slowly, the strange friendship became something deeper. But outside the room, whispers began. Some human officers started talking. "Have you seen Tom lately? Always disappearing after shift?" "Yeah, I heard he's meeting someone important." Others: "We're not happy." A Thalari noble named Lord Venar, known for his sharp tongue and cold eyes, noticed the queen's growing distance from the council. One evening, Tom arrived at Elra's room and saw her sitting quietly, her face more tired than usual. "Everything okay?" he asked. She looked at him. "The council is watching me now. They think I'm hiding something." "Are you?" She met his eyes. "Only you?" Tom walked to the window. The stars outside seemed endless. "Then maybe it's time to stop hiding." Elra looked surprised. "You think I should announce our meetings?" "No," he said, "but maybe it's time to show them you still lead. That you haven't lost control." She stood slowly. "You are right." Tom turned. "What will you do?" Elra walked to the crystal again. "Something they won't expect." Tom didn't know what she meant, but something told him the next few days would change everything. The next day, the space station Veltra Prime was louder than usual. More ships arrived, and with them came more Thalari nobles and leaders. The Grand Council was about to begin, a formal meeting of all powerful houses. Tom stood at the edge of the Queen's private hall, unsure if he should enter. A guard near the door, one of the few Thalari soldiers who didn't glare at him, gave a small nod. Tom stepped inside. Queen Elra was standing in front of a mirror. Her long silver gown flowed to the floor like water. Her crown sat lightly on. Her head, simple, not heavy or flashy, but still full of power. She turned when she saw him. "You came," she said. "I wasn't sure if I should," Tom replied. "Things feel different today." They are, she said. Today I will face those who wish to control me. Tom looked around. The lights were dimmer than usual. The air felt heavy. Elra walked toward him. Before I go to the council, I want to show you something. Something even more private than the archive. Tom followed her silently through a narrow hallway hidden behind a wall. At the end was a round room, glowing softly from the ceiling above. In the center stood a table with several glass containers. Inside were old scrolls, data chips, and ancient artifacts. "What is this place?" Tom asked. "This is the true heart of my family," Elra replied. "These are records never shared with the council, stories passed from queen to queen." She lifted one of the glass lids and took out a small silver square. When she pressed it, a projection filled the room. It showed a younger Thalari queen standing beside a human in an old-style space uniform. Tom stared. "Is that a human?" "Yes," Elra said. "Many years ago, before the Great Wars, the Thalari made contact with early human explorers. They worked together in peace, but the alliance was erased from the records after a betrayal." "Betrayal?" Tom asked. "A Thalari lord tried to use humans for war. The humans refused. Instead of accepting the truth, the court blamed the humans and cut all ties." Tom frowned. "So that's why they teach Thalari children to fear us." Elra nodded. "But the truth still lives here." She turned off the projection. "That's why I wanted to meet a human without guards or rules," she said. "To see for myself what your people are really like." Tom smiled a little. "And what do you think now?" "I think," she said, "you are braver than you realize." Tom looked away, feeling awkward. "So what happens next?" Elra's face turned serious. "The council wants to force me into an alliance through marriage. They will ask today, and they expect me to say yes." "To Lord Vanar?" Tom asked. She nodded. "He believes if he stands beside the queen, he will rule through fear." Tom crossed his arms. "You won't let that happen, right?" Elra smiled softly. "Not if I can help it." Later that day, the Grand Council chamber filled with voices. Nobles stood on platforms arranged in a circle. Each wore robes in different colors, showing their house symbols. Tom stood at the back, wearing his cleanest uniform. He was the only human in the room. Whispers followed him as he entered. "Why is he here? That's the human the queen meets in private. Is she truly trusting an outsider?" Tom ignored the voices and kept his eyes on Elra. She walked, with calm steps toward the central platform. All voices stopped when she raised her hand. "My lords and ladies," she began, "you called this meeting to speak of our future. I am ready to speak of mine." Lord Vanar stepped forward. His dark blue robe trailed behind him like a shadow. "Then you will accept the proposal? Our houses united?" Tom saw the way Vanar looked at the queen, like she was a trophy, not a person. Elra didn't answer at first. She looked at every noble one by one, then said clearly, "No." The chamber shook with noise. Voices rose, some shocked, others angry. Vanar raised his hand. "You would deny tradition? Deny your own people?" Elra stood tall. "I will not bind myself to someone I do not trust. I will not let fear rule our path." One noble shouted. "Then what path will you choose, Queen?" She stepped aside and pointed to the middle of the chamber. "One based on truth, and it begins here." A new projection filled the air. It showed the ancient message Tom had seen earlier of the human and the Thalari queen standing together. Gasps filled the room. "This is real?" one noble whispered. Vanar's face turned red. "You show lies from a forgotten age." "No," Elra said. "I show history we chose to forget. I show that humans and Thalari once stood together, that peace is not weakness, that trust is not foolish." She looked toward Tom. He didn't move, but he felt the entire room's eyes turn toward him. Elra said, "This human without rank, without power, has shown me more honesty than many who wear fine robes." Tom swallowed hard. He hadn't expected this. He just wanted to help quietly. "I will not marry to gain power," Elra said. "I will lead with my own mind, and I will choose who I allow close, not based on fear, but on truth." Silence filled the room. Some nobles looked impressed. Others looked angry. Vanar said nothing. Finally, one elder spoke. "We will not stop you, Queen, but your path is not safe." Elra nodded. "I never asked for safety, only for freedom." Later, after the council meeting ended, Tom sat quietly in Elra's chamber. She walked in, removing her crown. "You didn't have to do that," he said. "I did," she replied. "For myself and for my people." Tom leaned back. "You may have made enemies." "I already had them," she said calmly. He looked at her. "What now?" She smiled. "Now, we prepare. Change has begun." Tom looked out the window. The stars still shined the same, but he knew something big had started today, and somehow he was now part of it. The station lights dimmed slightly, signaling the start of night hours on Veltra Prime. The halls were quieter now, with fewer footsteps and fewer curious eyes. But the silence carried something else, too. A kind of tension that Tom could feel in his chest. Tom walked slowly down the hallway toward the Queen's private chamber. This time, no one stopped him. But there were more guards than usual, and their faces were tight with worry. When he reached the door, it slid open before he could knock. Queen Elra stood inside, her arms crossed. She was not wearing a royal gown tonight, just a soft blue robe. Her eyes were sharp. "You came," she said. Tom nodded. "I felt like something's wrong." She gave a small smile. "You feel it too." "Good." Tom stepped inside. "What's going on?" Elra motioned for him to sit. "After I rejected Lord Vanar, his supporters began moving. Quiet messages, secret meetings. My guards report strange activity in the station's lower decks." Tom frowned. "You think he's planning something?" "I don't think," she said. "I know." Tom leaned forward. "What do you need me to do?" Elra looked at him carefully. "There's a storage sector on level 9, outside the main power grid. Few cameras. I believe someone will try to bring in weapons or devices without notice. I need someone I can trust to check." Tom didn't hesitate. "I'll go." She placed a hand on his arm. "Be careful. This is not training. This is real." Tom moved quickly, wearing a plain coat over his uniform to avoid attention. Level 9 was old, not used often by visitors or staff. Some lights flickered. The walls had marks from past repairs. Pipes ran overhead like metal vines. He held a small scanner in his hand, one Elra had given him. It could detect power sources even, hidden ones. At first he saw nothing unusual. Old storage crates, locked doors, empty halls. Then something. The scanner blinked. Tom stopped. A faint energy reading was coming from behind one of the walls. He looked closely. There was a vent cover with fresh marks on the edges. Someone had opened it recently. He pulled out a small tool and loosened the screws. Behind the vent was a dark, narrow space. Inside, he saw a small black box, smooth, with red lines glowing softly. He tapped his communicator. "Tom to Queen Elra. I found something." Her voice came through quietly. "Describe it." "It looks like a power device. Maybe a signal booster or a detonator. Small, but not simple." "Leave it," she said. "Come back, now." But before he could move, he heard footsteps, fast, heavy. He turned and saw 3 figures running toward him, faces hidden under dark masks. Tom jumped back, rolling behind a crate just in time. A bright energy blast hit the wall where he had been. No talking. No warning. Whoever they were, they wanted him gone. Tom took cover and used his sidearm, firing a short stun burst. It hit one of the attackers in the leg. The figure fell, groaning. The other 2 kept moving. Tom ran down the hallway, leading them away from the vent. His boots hit the floor hard. The station shook slightly, a sign that the power core nearby was active. He reached a corner and ducked into a side room. Inside were old metal parts and sealed lockers. He breathed fast, heart pounding. Then, another noise. Someone entered the room behind him. Tom turned and raised his weapon. But it was one of Elra's personal guards. "You okay?" the guard asked. Tom nodded. "They're still out there. One is down." The guard stepped outside and signaled with his hand. More guards appeared and secured the area. Tom walked back to the vent with the device. A tech officer began scanning it. "It's a signal blocker," the officer said. "Used to hide energy spikes from scans, but it can also be linked to remote explosives." Tom looked at the fallen attacker. The mask had been removed. It was a Thalari male, young, wearing no house symbols. Elra arrived soon after, walking quickly with 2 senior guards. She looked at Tom first. "Are you hurt?" He shook his head. "I'm fine." She looked at the captured attacker. "Do you recognize him?" One of her guards nodded. "He is a guard from Lord Venar's personal unit." Elra's face grew cold. "Then we have our answer." Back in her chamber, Elra sat in silence for a long time. Tom stood nearby, watching her carefully. "You were right," he said. "They're moving fast," she nodded. "They wanted to place these devices near my quarters, likely to cause confusion, or worse." Tom sat across from her. "What do we do now?" Elra met his eyes. "We make our next move, carefully. The council cannot know yet. If I accuse Venar without proof, they will say I act from emotion." Tom asked, "What about your guards? Can you trust them all?" "Not all," she said. "But a few, yes. Including the one who found you." Tom looked down. "I'm just a soldier. I didn't come here to play spy games." Elra smiled a little. "And yet, you just uncovered an attack on a queen." Tom gave a small laugh. "Yeah, strange job for someone who got lost on his first night." Elra stood. "You are not lost anymore, Tom." That night, Tom couldn't sleep again. He lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything. He had come here to serve as a soldier, follow orders, and stay out of trouble. But now he was part of something bigger, something dangerous. Yet, He didn't feel fear. He felt ready, because someone powerful and alone, had trusted him, and he would not let her down. The morning after the attack, the sky outside the station's large glass dome was still dark. The stars looked peaceful, but inside Veltra Prime, things were far from calm. Queen Elra stood in her private chamber, fully dressed in her formal armor. It was not heavy, but it had sharp lines of silver and blue, the colors of her house. Her crown rested neatly on her forehead, and her expression was colder than usual. Tom stood beside her, adjusting his new duty badge. It was not an official rank, but it showed that he was now under the Queen's direct command. "Are you ready for this?" Elra asked him. "I should be asking you that," Tom replied. Elra looked toward the window. "Today, we end this game. No more secrets, no more threats in the shadows." Tom nodded. "I'll stay close. I won't let anything happen to you." Elra turned and gave him a rare, soft smile. "That's why I trust you." The Grand Council was meeting again that day. Many nobles believed it would be a normal discussion: trade routes, station repairs, or population talks. They didn't know what was coming. The circular chamber was full. Every platform had someone seated, their house colors on display. Some bowed as the Queen entered. Some didn't. Tom entered behind her. Once again, eyes followed him. "Why is the human always with her?" A whisper rose. "Why is he armed?" Elra reached the center and lifted her hand. Silence fell. "My lords and ladies," she said firmly, "an attempt was made against my life." Gasps filled the air. A few nobles stood in shock. Lord Venar, dressed in a dark robe, stepped forward with a calm expression. "What proof do you bring for such a claim?" Elra nodded toward one of her guards, who walked into the room holding the small black device. Tom had discovered. "This device was found outside my chamber," she explained. "Hidden by someone wearing the armor of a noble guard." Venar's face didn't change. "Anyone can wear that armor. That proves nothing." Elra stepped closer. "Then what about this?" Another guard entered, pulling along the young Thalari attacker Tom had stunned earlier. His hands were bound, and his eyes looked around nervously. Tom watched carefully. He had seen this trick before. Let the guilty act like victims. Stay quiet. Play scared. Elra asked the attacker, "Who sent you?" The young Thalari hesitated, then said quietly, "Lord Venar promised my family a better house status." The chamber erupted in noise. Some shouted in disbelief. Others turned to look at Venar. Venar lifted both hands. "Lies! You use a scared child to paint me as a traitor?" Tom stepped forward. "Then explain this." He held up a small data chip. "I found this in the attacker's coat. It has your private council codes." Venar's face finally changed. His eyes narrowed. His voice grew sharp. "You overstep, human." Tom met his gaze calmly. "I protect the Queen. That means stopping those who want her gone." Elra raised her voice. "This human saved my life. He found the device, stopped the attacker, and risked his life when many of you stayed silent." Some nobles shifted uncomfortably. Elra pointed toward Venar. "You tried to take the crown through fear. But I will not bow to fear," Venar shouted. "You break tradition. You let an outsider speak for you." Tom took a step forward. "I don't speak for her. I stand with her." The room grew quiet again. Elra looked around. Any ruler who hides behind fear is not a leader, and any people who follow such fear will never grow. She stepped to the edge of her platform. "I will not step down. I will not marry for control, and I will not let anyone harm my people. From the shadows, Vinar looked at the crowd. You will regret this. All of you. Elra spoke calmly. The council will decide your punishment. Guards, take him. Vinar shouted something in a strange tongue, and suddenly, two of his personal guards reached for their weapons. Tom moved fast. He grabbed Elra's arm and pulled her down just as a flash of blue light passed overhead. He turned, aimed, and fired. His stun weapon. One attacker fell. Elra's guards tackled the other. In seconds it was over. Elra stood slowly. Her crown had fallen off, but she didn't care. She looked down at the council, calm, strong, unshaken. This is the truth of what we face, she said. Let this be the last day we let fear lead us. Later in her chamber, Elra sat on the edge of her seat, holding a warm cup of spiced tea. Tom stood near the window, watching the stars. You were brave today, Elra said. Tom turned. You were braver. You stood between me and a weapon, she reminded him. He smiled. I said I would. Elra nodded. The council voted. Lord Vinar will be stripped of title and exiled. His supporters have been removed from their stations. Tom raised an eyebrow. That was fast. They know the truth now. And they saw it with their own eyes. She stood and walked to him. The people are talking, she said. Some are angry, some are surprised, but most are hopeful. Tom looked at her. And what about you? She paused. I feel free. They both stood in silence, watching the stars outside. After a while, Elra asked, Do you still think this is the wrong room? Tom laughed. Honestly? Best mistake I ever made. Elra smiled. Then maybe it was not a mistake at all. Days passed, but the memory of the council attack stayed fresh in everyone's mind. Veltra Prime was quiet now, almost too quiet. Most of Lord Vinar's supporters had been removed or arrested. Patrols increased around the Queen's chambers. Extra, guards stood at important points across the station. But even with all the changes, one thing was clear. Queen Elra was still standing, and beside her, so was Tom. Tom sat near the Queen's window, polishing his small stun weapon. The stars outside blinked slowly, calm and far away. Behind him, Elra spoke with her advisors. I'll approve the trade route, she said, but tell them it must pass inspection before it moves near Thalari space. Yes, Your Highness, replied her senior aide. When the meeting ended, Elra walked over to Tom. You look tired, she said. He shrugged. Not much sleep. Lot of walking. Lot of watching. You've done more than I ever expected, she said. Tom gave a small smile. So, am I still just a guest who entered the wrong room? Elra tilted her head. I think you've earned a new title. Tom raised an eyebrow. Something official? She nodded. You've been appointed as Inner-World Advisor to the Crown. Tom blinked. Wait, that's a real title? Yes, and now everyone knows you're not just the human with the Queen. Tom stood and laughed. Wow, sounds fancy. Elra looked pleased. It comes with new clothes, too. Tom's smile faded. Do I have to wear the long robe thing? She nodded seriously. It's tradition. They both laughed. Later, they walked through the garden dome, a quiet part of the station filled with alien plants, soft light, and peaceful air. Few people came here, which made it the perfect place for a private talk. Tom walked beside Elra. Hands behind his back. You've changed, Elra said. How so? You were nervous when we first met. Unsure, careful. I thought I'd get in trouble for walking into the wrong room, Tom said. Elra smiled. Now look at you, facing the council, protecting a queen, speaking with confidence. Tom looked down. I guess being around you changed me. She stopped walking. It changed me too. Tom looked at her. Really? Elra nodded. I spent years alone at the top. Everyone bowed, but no one was honest. No one looked at me as a person. But you did. He was quiet for a moment. I didn't mean to be special. That's what made it special, she said. They walked again, slowly. After a while, Elra asked, Do humans stay in one place long? Tom smiled. Not really. We travel, explore, move from post to post. Some settle down, but it's rare. And what about you? I don't know, Tom said. I always thought I'd go back to Earth someday. Maybe live near the sea. Elra's voice softened. Would you leave now, if given the choice? Tom looked at her. I think I've already made my choice. Back in the Queen's chamber, an unexpected message arrived. It came from the outer edge of Thalari space, an emergency beacon. The transmission was weak but clear. Elra and Tom stood over the display table watching a shaky image appear. A Thalari captain spoke. This is patrol ship Seren. We've been attacked by unknown raiders near Moonline Sector. We request aid. Shields down. Engines failing. Then the signal ended. Elra turned to her command officer. Dispatch our nearest cruiser. Tell them to go in full alert. Tom asked. Do you think it's connected to Vanar? Elra shook her head. No. This is something else. Tom crossed his arms. Then we've got more enemies now? Not enemies yet, she said. But whoever they are, they've attacked the Thalari ships. That means they've made their choice. She looked at Tom. I'll be visiting the border in 3 days. I need to speak with our people there, and I want you with me. Tom blinked. Me? But I'm not a soldier in your army. No, she said. You're something more important. You're the proof that peace is not weakness, that we can trust others outside our world. He didn't argue. He only nodded. 3 days later, Tom stepped off the Queen's transport shuttle onto a quiet base near the edge of Thalari space. The place was colder than Veltra Prime. The sky above was deep blue, and small moons floated near the horizon. Elra was welcomed by officers and workers with bows and cheers. But when Tom walked beside her, many Thalari looked confused. Some whispered. A few even frowned. One officer walked up. Queen Elra, with respect. Bringing a human this close to the border may cause discomfort. Elra replied calmly. Then perhaps it's time we learn to be uncomfortable, for the sake of something greater. The officer bowed again, silent. That night, Elra and Tom stood on the tower balcony watching stars blink across the sky. Tom asked, Do you ever get tired of carrying all this weight, being responsible for so many lives? Elra didn't answer right away. Then she said, Yes, but I don't carry it alone anymore. Tom looked at her. What happens after this mission? She smiled gently. We return to Veltra Prime. We continue the work. We build new bridges. Tom nodded. And me? Elra reached for his hand. You stay, she said. He looked down at their hands, surprised but calm. I'm not a noble, he said. not a prince. You're human, Elra said. And you walked into the wrong room but gave me the right path? The journey back to Veltra Prime was quiet. The stars passed slowly outside the transport's windows, and Tom sat beside Queen Elra, feeling calm but alert. The attack near the Moonline sector had shown one thing. Danger was growing. Unknown. Raiders had begun to test the Thalari's strength, but Elra was ready. "We need to prepare," she said softly. "Not just for war, but for peace, too." Tom looked at her. "How do you prepare for peace when enemies are near?" Elra smiled faintly. "By trusting the right people." Tom thought about that. He had never been so far from Earth or so close to a queen, but he had learned that trust was more powerful than any weapon. Back on Veltra Prime, the atmosphere was changing. The council had accepted Elra's decisions, and many houses began to support her. They saw that fear and control no longer ruled. Tom had become a symbol of new hope, a human who walked with a queen, who saw her as a person, not just a ruler. One evening, Tom and Elra walked together in the station's garden dome. The soft light made the alien plants glow softly. They talked quietly. "Do you ever miss Earth?" Elra asked. Tom thought. "Sometimes. But I think home is where you belong," she smiled. "Then maybe Veltra Prime is your home now." He nodded. Days later, news came that the raiders had been driven back by joint Thalari and human forces. It was the first victory in a new alliance. At the celebration, Elra spoke to the crowd. "Today we stand united, not by fear but by trust, not by tradition but by choice. This is the path forward." Tom stood beside her, proud. After the speech, Elra turned to Tom. "Thank you," she said softly. "For what?" he asked. "For walking through the wrong door," she said with a smile. "And finding the right path." Tom laughed. "I never thought a mistake could change everything." Elra took his hand gently. "Sometimes mistakes are the best beginnings." Months passed. Tom stayed at Veltra Prime, learning more about the Thalari, their people, and their history. He worked with Elra to build bridges between worlds. Their friendship grew deeper, a bond of trust and respect. One day, in a quiet moment, Elra said, "You have become more than my advisor, Tom." He looked surprised. "What do you mean?" She smiled. "You have become my friend, my partner in this new journey." Tom's heart beat faster. "I'm honored," he said softly. The galaxy was wide, full of unknown stars and new possibilities. But on Veltra Prime, something special was happening. Two different worlds were learning to trust each other. A queen and a human soldier had shown that courage, honesty, and kindness could change the future. And in that change, they both found a new home, not just in the stars, but in each other.